This show is brought to you by listeners and viewers like you. EvanX.com Tesla accessories, our TeslaOwnersOnline.com community, and our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/TeslaOwnersOnline.
You will never hear your own voice the way that other people hear your voice.
Well,
it would always sound different to you than it does to everybody else.
That's because you're listening to yourself through bone induction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I'm not saying when you're speaking. I'm just saying even when you hear it back, it tends to sound a bit different. But yes, even as you're speaking, it does sound different.
Well, yes, because the vast majority of what you're listening to of yourself is through bone induction in your head, not the actual audio of your voice.
Yeah, no, I always find it odd when I hear it played back through some recording device. Like when I listen to the podcast, it's like, oh, that's, I'm so used to it now, it doesn't bother me. But originally, it was kind of like, that's kind of strange, like I've done enough audio and video work over the years that there's always a little bit of a disconnect, but now it's such a regular thing that I don't think about it. But you're saying, Eric, that even when you hear a recording yourself, it's different from what other people hear?
It's sometimes subtly different. I mean, I'm overly critical of myself anyway, because I know that I have various deformities and other stuff that makes me sound higher pitched, makes me sound nasally. I tend to speak very fast. So I can't really remember the last time I heard a recording of myself and was like, nailed it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Even like during the podcast, I mean, if it's like first part of the day and I have my lower register voice, I have like my morning voice, like, good morning, and thank you. Like that's one thing.
That super FM DJ voice you had when you did your own podcast. I know right. That one's smooth, man. That one's slick.
Right. So I would try to record that certain times of the day to be like, and now, but yeah, there are times I'll hear it, like when I can't listen to our show. I hate how I sound in our show. It's nothing it's nothing Trevor can do to fix it. It's just the way my voice is on in this medium. But
well, for those of you who are tuning in and just listening to the things that we talk about before we pre-record, we're leaving it in. It's all.
Why do you do this to me all the time?
Come on, it's all fun and games.
Until someone gets hurt.
Well, what have you guys been up to? I mean, we haven't done a show there in about 3 weeks. I've been catching up on a couple of things. What's that show we've been watching there? The Long Way Up. Oh my God, is that ever good?
Oh, Long Way Up. So good.
If you guys haven't watched this show, please do yourself a favor. I don't know how, by whatever means you can, Apple TV, Fire Stick, whatever you can get, please do yourself a favor and watch the show. It's Ewan McGregor and Charlie Bone, and they got a crew with them, and they're going from South America all the way up to LA on two prototype Harley-Davidson electric motorcycles pre-production, because they're in production now. I have a friend of mine who actually just test drove one. And tagging along with them are two Rivian prototype pickup trucks. And it's just
the very first two to get street VINs.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, watch it. It's really good. Epic beauty. It's really well shot. Some good story happening, and you get to watch some electrified stuff happening as it happens. It was all filmed last year. So I don't know how many episodes they're going to do. What are we at? 6 now?
Yes, it was 6. Was Bolivia that just aired? Yeah.
Okay. So how many episodes do you think they're going to be in?
There's usually 10 or 12. You'd think I'd know this. I watched the first 2 series like a billion times. But it's got to be 10 or 12 episodes.
Okay. All right. Well,
it is incredibly hard for people like just to pick up a new series to watch something when there's so many streaming outlets to watch content. And when people are like, oh my gosh, this is a great show, you should watch this. And I'm like, what show would you recommend? They're like, oh, have you seen Breaking Bad? I'm like, I haven't seen Breaking Bad. And they're like, oh my God, you have to watch it. I'm like,
yeah, you have to watch it.
Barely get through the stuff I record on my DVR today, much less now go watch. How many seasons of Breaking Bad was there? 9?
5.
5. Only 5. Like I can't. I don't have the time to spend what seems like 3 days worth of just hour by hour streaming of content.
Here's the thing about Long Way Up. I'm not used to this because I'm used to seeing everything being released all at once in typical Netflix fashion. So you can just binge watch like the whole season all at once. Mm-hmm. And this is like, oh man, I got to wait another week to watch the next episode.
I like that. I find it makes me appreciate it more.
Think so?
Well, you saw that Showtime is going to have a special 10-episode Dexter run.
I know.
Next year, fall of 2021 is when it's expected to debut.
I love Dexter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a show, like there's only a handful of shows that when you think about the finales, or at least the episodes leading up to the finales, where they're either critically acclaimed for how great the series finale was, or they were deadpanned as being terrible. And there's only, like, I know Lost had its critics when that show ended, and Dexter was another one that people just could not believe how it was ending. Like, there were certain things happening in season 8 that people thought, oh, maybe they'll tie the loose end this way. And then all of a sudden, like, the sister dies. Spoiler alert. Listen, at this point, by the way, if you're not aware of the show, too late. But like, the sister dies, and then he fakes his death, and his girlfriend's in South America, and the kids with him, and all this strange stuff. And people are like, what the heck is this? And he's like in the Pacific Northwest as a lumberjack, just sitting on an empty table, just like pondering what comes next.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah,
so mad.
Dexter was a good show in the sense that when it first started, it had some good momentum. It did have its ups and downs. Like the second season was like, oh my god. Third season, the one with John Lithgow, that was really good.
That was the benchmark season.
So, but it definitely felt rushed at the end. Like, let's wrap this thing up. We gotta finish it and stuff. So sometimes, a lot of those shows they tend to go a little too long. The nice thing about Breaking Bad, I know Eric, you haven't seen it, but it's 5 seasons, and it's short enough where you can actually binge watch it. But it's so well thought out. I mean, there's a reason why it's the #1 rated show of all time. You'll understand when you watch it. It's one of those shows, however, when you watch it, and sorry, we'll get into the Tesla stuff here in a second, but we got to have this discussion. But it's one of those shows that it takes the first season to really get into it. And by the second season, it definitely takes a different shift because you can tell the cinematography is dialed in, especially the cinematography. They really, really dial it in on the second season, and it just keeps going and going and going. And the nice thing is that they use the same team and the same crew for Better Call Saul, which is a prequel just on the lawyer with some Breaking Bad characters that were thrown in. And they use the same team. So right from the first episode, it's already dialed in. So that's an awesome series to watch too. So, but make sure you watch Breaking Bad so you get the references for Better Call Saul.
But I think I remember even you were saying when you started watching Breaking Bad that for you it took those few episodes because you weren't sure you were going to really dig it. But then once you got to like episode 4 or 5, then you're like, okay, now I see where this is going.
Yeah, but it takes about episode 6 for really to start like getting it dialed in. And like I said, it was, Vince Gilligan was the primary writer on that. He did a bunch of episodes for X-Files. Excellent writer. But yeah, you can tell that it takes about 6 episodes to really get it, just get right into it. And I told my dad the same thing because he had not seen the series, and I told him, look, you got to give it 6 episodes. Like, it's easy to get discouraged after the first or the second because you're like, what the hell is going on with this thing? But by the 6th episode, you can start, oh, I see what's going on here. And it just goes downhill. Anyways, we're not going to spoil it for anybody. Definitely watch it. Listen, we haven't done a show in about 3 weeks. We thought we'd dive in because we've got lots of Tesla stuff to talk about because it's getting really exciting, especially today and yesterday. Elon just got on Twitter. Man, was that guy on fire. So we got lots of stuff to talk about. First story, I think, is a little bit of a runner-up because we haven't done a show in about 3 weeks, so we're kind of going back in time. It might be old news for some of you, but I was really lucky. I got a response back from Elon on Twitter. Let me bring up the tweet here for some of you who have not seen it. Let's switch the screen around so you guys can see it. So I did a little poll on September 20th. I says, please let Elon know we want waypoints. This has been a discussion we've been talking about for, I forget how many years now in the Tesla community. And Elon said, fine, we'll do it already. So it looks like sometime in the near future, we will finally get waypoints. I know we've had this discussion before. Eric seems to think that, maybe we do, maybe we don't need it, but some people want that. So it looks like we finally got Elon's attention on that one. So that one got lots of likes. Anyways, not toot my own horn, but I know lots of people prior to me had asked. I was just lucky enough that he answered.
Raphael was very vocal about it. Our
true.
friend Teslatino was on the case a lot. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I think with Elon sometimes when it comes to new features that maybe he bucks the trend a little bit or he pushes back, you need someone to actually sit down and actually make a proper case for it. And I don't think anybody actually took Elon and took him by the side and said, hey, listen, this is why we should do this. And Raphael did an awesome tweet some time ago where he actually explained it, why it was important. And I don't think Elon got it. And for whatever reason, this just finally got him pushed over the edge. I don't know.
Literally the straw that broke the camel's back.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they had it in the works, and then he finally decided, fine, we'll do it all. I don't know. But anyways, nice to know that we're going to get some kind of update on that. All right. So first story we're going to talk about is this has been a year of price adjustments at Tesla. It always seemed like the first part of the year a week didn't go by when we see some kind of price adjustment with Tesla. Well, they adjusted the Model S got a price adjustment earlier this week, where they dropped at $3,000. Not the ludicrous model. So the performance model and the base model both dropped. If we bring up the Tesla Design Studio here, you can see. Okay, so the Long Range Plus is coming in at $69,420. How juvenile, but this is Elon. This is why he sent out his tweet, and he says, the gauntlet has been thrown down. The prophecy will be fulfilled. The Model S price changes down to $69,420 tonight. Now, that happened late last night, so this is where the price adjustment. So we've basically had, a $5,000 price adjustment on the Model S. No other cars have been affected. Model X is still there. But anyways, some of us are thinking it was a bit of a response to Lucid Motors, of course, because they finally announced the base price of their car on the Lucid Air. So I think Elon was having a little bit of fun on Lucid's part. The other thing, too, is I think it gives a pretty nice price spread between, because, in a lot of ways, they were a little too close together. So it really spreads out the Model S. And I mean, we're only a few $1,000s more than a fully loaded Model 3 now. Mm-hmm. So really good value if those guys want a long range Model S that does, 402 miles EPA rated with more cargo space.
Yeah, and considering now that they charge at 200 kilowatts, you know what? For long distance travel and a really roomy car, that's a hell of a package.
Yeah, good value, I think, for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Still needs a refresh, though.
Yes.
Well, yes. We'll talk about that. So good
I
news.
do wonder though how long the pricing will stay like that, because if Elon and Tesla are, if anything, we know are known for their price changes in both directions. Mm-hmm. So it would not surprise me if there's some modicum of clarity that happens at some point. And they go, yeah, we need to change that a bit. We can't be that low for that long. But it also makes you start thinking, if there's a refresh in the horizon and the lower price point begins to drum up sales for Model S. And then they go, all right, we got a surplus of entry level Model S. Start getting those out of the lots, and then that way it makes room for production ramps in 2021.
We are starting the fourth quarter. We're at the beginning of a fourth quarter, so yeah, there's always demand levers to push things around. Tesla's, they've got margins; they can move things around. I know a lot of people like to focus on Tesla's price changes, but you know what? The auto industry changes the prices all the time. Employee pricing this month, and then rebates next month, and it's just. They look at Tesla, they're dropping the price of their car. Making it sound like you're cutting the price in half. No, they're not. It's like 1%. It's not a big deal. But it is what it is.
But I wonder if Model S sales, whatever their forecast might have been, if they're seeing that for the year. And again, we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and it's sadly getting worse. But, if the numbers are behind where they thought they would be at this point of the year, and they're trying to maybe just, again, try to ramp up sales for Q4. So there could be a number of different things. I think the optics are that it's a playful ploy against what Lucid did in the last couple of days this week. But at the same time, there could be some other business-minded decisions behind it to also make the change.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What was I going to say? Oh, I lost my train of thought. Not important.
Choo-choo.
Oh, well. All right. Another story. So on Twitter, the guys at Clean Technica wrote an article about FSD. They're talking about autopilot updates and notes from Elon Musk. And Elon took to Twitter and said that limited FSD beta will be released on Tuesday of next week. A lot of people thought it was this week. No, it's not. It's on the 20th. As promised. And he says this will, at first, be limited to a small number of people who are expert and careful drivers. Now, I have to parse this a little bit because the way I read this is that, well, I don't know. If I was a betting person, I'm thinking maybe a very few people in the early access program or employees first. Keep it close to home. This is not going to be widespread because if they're going to be using FSD on the streets, regulators haven't approved all this stuff. So they got to be doing this in little areas. Like California is a given because they have licenses for doing that. Arizona and Nevada or 2 other states, I think, that where they have some legal abilities to do this kind of thing. So, anyways, don't expect to just flip the switch. If you bought FSD, all of a sudden you're going to get this thing. This is a
Baby steps.
baby steps. Thank you.
Think of it like a focus group. They're just going to have a handful of people to test it and give their feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm thinking it's going to go to employees first, and maybe a small set of the already vetted people in the early access program based on geographic location. That's my take on it, anyways. But it just shows that they're getting to the point now where they can finally release parts of this new rewrite they've been working on for quite some time. So curious to see what it's going to be. Expect to see leaks. So, the Twitterverse and the YouTubes will be full of people showing off what this thing can actually do. I think in a lot of ways, if you want to get an idea of what it's going to be like and maybe what some of the graphics are going to look like, you got to go back to more than a year ago at the Autonomy Day thing. I actually put a video up on my YouTube channel. If you go and look at it, I did a close-up shot because the graphics on the screen were a little different. So if you go and watch that, I think you probably get a little bit of an idea of what we're actually going to see during that. So anyways, be interesting, but expect to see leaks fairly soon on that. So moving along, it's always good to see that. Speaking of which, I think this is kind of interesting. Going in hand with FSD is the concept of how do you charge a car that may not have a driver in it with the supercharging stations. Now, back in 2015, when Tesla announced the dual motor Model S at the D event, Elon talked about, we're going to do some kind of like Metal Gear Solid Snake type of thing going to the charger. And then shortly after that, they showed off this really creepy video. And for those of you watching on YouTube here, I'll bring up the video. You guys can watch it, where they developed this snake thing that actually moves at a fixed station that finds its way and goes into the charge port. We haven't seen this thing in the wild in any shape, way, or form, or any developments of this thing since this original video. So I don't know what other improvements that they've made for it. It's creepy as hell. There's been lots of memes about this, and you can check it out online. But anyways, so Elon, some people were asking Elon about this. Let me just cancel the video here because that's not interesting anymore. We'll just bring up the tweet. Someone named Zane on Twitter had asked, will we ever see the automatic snake charger? And Elon responded with a simple yes. So it looks like it's still in the works. It's still in the plans. A lot of people have been asking about this same, this ideology of like, how do you actually charge a car that's self-driving? Do you do the induction charger thing on the ground? There's too many power losses as far as that's concerned. So it's interesting to see that they're still working and still thinking about doing this, but I think it's too soon. But if we start seeing some of these things being deployed in the next year or so, we know that there's a possibility of the robotaxi fleet actually happening. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to me, there's really two things I think about. One is if I have a snake system, like, again, we've seen the video from some years ago. If you have something like that, to me, there's too many points of failure that are possible, right? Like if the mechanics at all break, like who's going to come out and fix those? They're going to be at various locations around the world. You mentioned induction as a power concern. To me, those I don't find much different because certainly there is still power feeding through the cable. I mean, it has a lot of questions in terms of how they would go about planning a deployment of something like that, and then service issues and the like. Somehow to me that doesn't seem to be the smarter way to go. It's the cooler way to go. Right? Like that's really neat in terms of how it looks. It also makes me wonder, are they going to start coming out of the ground and taking over the world? No, I'm kidding. That's not going to happen. There is no Skynet. Get over it. Anyway, but I think induction, I mean, there's been conversations about like having solar roadways and a number of different things that as you're driving, your car can charge or get into a fixed location that would work. I don't know. They both have their drawbacks. I think that the snake option to me just seems like there's more ways it could fail than not. I could be wrong. It just seems like that's a lot of factors at play to make sure it's working all the time.
I will mention something, and I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but when Tesla built the first three supercharging stations, the cabinets were not, they didn't always look like they do today.
Right.
The original cabinets, actually, the cable was actually stored inside the cabinet, and the door would open, and then it would reveal the cable. I would suspect, to your point about the being able to protect this snake charger type thing, that they would probably build some kind of variant of that type of supercharging cabinet where the cable would be stored inside securely in such a way that it would only reveal itself when needed. I don't know. That's just kind of my way of thinking. I don't think they would just leave it out in the open like they do right now because, yeah, obviously there are some issues with that. So, anyways.
Well, it has to be certainly for northern climates where you have snow and ice buildup. It has to be some sort of an enclosed system where, you know, obviously an access door would open and then it can come out because, it looks to me like the mechanism, even if you made it a lot more robust, for sure the thing's going to freeze up if you leave it exposed like the existing cable. So it'd be really interesting to see what they do. But I have a funny feeling this is the route that they're going to go. To me, for them to have attendants standing around waiting for cars to show up just to plug them in.
No, that's not going to happen. No, it has to be completely automated.
No. So, you know, do they go with a half and half solution where they're going to have some degree of inductive and some snake chargers? You know, I don't know. Well, interesting to see.
Yep. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. If we find anything more of interest, we'll keep everybody apprised. So the next story we want to talk about is finally Tesla is going to be expanding into a new market as of early next year. The Tesla Owners Club of India asked Elon, "Hey Elon, we just thought we'd put this out there. We wait and hang while we wait and hang out to hopefully get to India soon." I'm really tongue-tied tonight. I'm sorry.
You've been off for a few weeks.
Yes. Would love to hear any progress in this regards. And why is the snake charger back on my screen again? I'm so sorry about that, folks. All right, here we go. Here's the tweet. Elon said next year for sure. Apparently, the configurator is going to be going live for India. So, yeah, a new market. So those of you who think that Tesla is in every market, I got news for you. They are not. They're officially not in Russia yet. They are, oh wait, yeah, I think they are in parts of Russia. Anyways, India, new market for them. Plenty of other places to go to.
What on earth took so long? That to me seems like it's a place with huge potential. I don't get why they wouldn't have been there already.
Well, I think you can make a case for that for every country where Tesla doesn't have a presence. I mean, there's lots of people that would buy it in, you know, South America. They don't have any presence in real South America at this point yet. I mean, infrastructure is a different thing. All you have to do is watching The Long Way Up to really understand where infrastructure is sitting at this point. Where, you know what, we're quite spoiled being in North America, Europe, those type of countries. Electricity is everywhere, level 2. There's infrastructure everywhere. But when you get out into the weeds, sometimes, it can be a bit of a challenge. I mean,
let's also not forget that even here in the U.S., we have states that don't have direct sales to Tesla. So it wouldn't be surprising if there's some, you have to work with governments on getting some stuff there. So let's not just assume that it's just Tesla sitting on their hands deciding, you know what, India can wait. They're fine. Like, no, there may be some other reasons that are just not publicly known that could have, caused them to sort of piecemeal their way down to the point where now he's allowed to make an announcement because maybe they've finalized an agreement with the Indian government.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, no, I never for a moment assumed that it was just they were, couldn't be bothered yet.
Right.
I figured there's some regulatory or bureaucratic issue, whatever. Just curious to hear what it is.
Homologation. Yeah. Okay. All right. Looks like we're getting some more features again. Software update. You know what's curious, and I thought I would mention this. We haven't seen version 11 yet. Looks like every year for the last 3 years we've gotten a new version 9, version 10. We're due for version 11.
Are we though?
Well, yeah, there's always been released around the September-October time frame.
Yeah, but I mean, you said it's only been 3 years. I mean, look, everything that I've come to know about my life prior to February of this year, that's just all far distant memories. Right now, I'm in like some multiverse experience. Like I'm used to running races at Disney coming up now. Like there's so many things going on that are on your calendar that were on there January 1st. And then all of a sudden you just look at your calendar now and it's either a series of ink marks from all the tears you've been crying over them, or you've just basically scratched everything out in Sharpie. So there's been a number of things that happened this year at Tesla. We certainly documented them on this podcast a number of times, when they were temporarily shut down in Fremont to, the ramp up for Model Y. And they just had a lot going on. Battery Day was, of course, a major deal for them. China, Berlin, like there's been a lot going on. I think they're okay if they didn't have any major software releases. Now this time of the year. I mean, Elon could spring something up in December. You never know.
Oh, true.
But there's been no hints of anything coming out this year, and it's understandably why.
Well, my theory on that would be it's, the 4D FSD. It's this next gen FSD has been probably sucking up all of the brain power in that department. So, I think this luxury of getting a new interface with all sorts of fun new things has been just sort of shelved temporarily while they get, because that's got to be a stretch, man, to get that all working. When you read what they've done, they've basically ripped it all apart and virtually started from scratch, the way this
I also blame Raphael for the Waypoints thing. That's probably such a time-consuming thing. So it's okay. We forgive him.
Unless they decide unless with this FSD thing, if they're actually going to push it out, because we still have another couple months before the year's out, that they would wrap it maybe into, a whole package all at once. And here's a new UI, something like that. I don't know. There's still room, but I'm still keeping my fingers crossed because we've been expecting this version 11.
One of my favorite things to see on social media, especially on Twitter, is when there's a software release. Now my car doesn't notify me right away if it's not on the network, and that's fine. But I see everyone else gets the notifications and they post the screenshots and stuff, and then they like, oh my god, yay, it's Christmas, and then they get the download. Oh, it's just bug fixes, man.
Well,
I literally did that 3 days ago.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, you guys are like, I laugh it off because like Tesla owners by and large are so damn spoiled. like my iPhone will have like a minor update and go, all right, well, you're fixing some minor thing. All right, great. Like you're fixing a bug. Fantastic.
Well, here's for those of you who might be tuning into the podcast maybe the first time or whatever. We've talked about this many times before. The way Tesla numbers their software releases. Okay, so you have 2020, that's the year of release, and then the second digit is the week that it's been not necessarily released, but bundled up and released. And then the third digit really indicates bug fixes. That very rarely will they introduce new features in that third digit. So if you're on 2020.36.1, just for a number, and then you see 2020.36.2, don't expect any new features. It's usually bug fixes, right? I got 40.2. I forget. I got to check my phone. I don't keep track of where I
wasn't ready for this.
I wasn't ready for this one here. So I'm sitting at 2020 40.4. I was at 40.3, and the very next day, or a day or two later, I got .4. So that was a bug fix. I was not expecting it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's nice to see a software update, but I'm not expecting any new features. So when we see another release, so if it goes to like .42 or .46 or something like that, we know that there's going to be some new features in there, and that's when you can expect them to see on your screen. But yeah, that's basically it works. So if you see a change in the third digit, don't expect any new features. It's the second digit that's most important. And then next year when they start releasing, it'll be 2021 first week or something, .1 or whatever. So that's basically how Tesla numbers their software updates. So for those of you who want to know. All right, let's see here. What else here? We're going to talk about, got sidetracked here. Supposed to be a new feature coming out. Someone on Twitter had asked Elon, can we tap to enlarge the different camera views when we're backing up? I want to embiggenate these pictures. And I don't blame him for that. It's nice to have the 2 extra side repeater cameras that come up when you put it in reverse. But yeah, I'd like them to be a little bigger. Elon confirmed, says, yes, coming soon. So I'm looking forward to that. It'd be nice to be able to, like in Sentry Mode, tap on one of those pictures to get it a little bigger. There's times when I'm backing up, I want to see how much space I got beside me, and that, I have to wear glasses, and it's a pain in the butt to be able to see some of those little squares and stuff. So I don't know. I
sometimes wonder when these releases get put out. That's what she said. But when these releases get put out there, how many people are clamoring for that thing, or they see that Elon's responding to someone's tweet saying, all right, we'll work on that. And again, we don't know what the time frame is. If people see that and go, finally we're getting that, right? Like some of these releases I think about, for a certain audience, doesn't really mean much of anything. Like I don't really use all 3 cameras for backup. I just have the one main camera and I'm fine. It was a nice addition to have the side cameras, but when I started using it, it threw me off visually. Like I couldn't get used to having all 3 cameras on.
Same here.
Yeah, so it's
well, the nice thing about it's optional, right? You have to swipe up, and it remembers that. So
yeah,
if you don't like it,
but it is those things that like these for these people who hammer him on social media, to like I need this, and I sometimes wonder like, are you in such a small minority of owners that's not really that big a deal. Like the Waypoints thing, maybe there was a reasonable number of people saying, "Oh yeah, I'd like that too. That would be kind of cool." It'd be like going to some kid's birthday party and saying, "All right, who wants chocolate ice cream?" Right? Like, there's a certain section that makes sense. But if someone's like, "Who wants pistachio?" Like, there's not exactly a major demand for that, relatively speaking. Now, if I was at Trevor's birthday party and I said, "Who wants coconut?" We know Trevor's raising his hand, but everyone else leaves the room. So,
Eric knows I have a love of coconut ice cream. Kilwin's coconut in Florida, my favorite. Anyways, I don't know.
You'll get it in a few years.
Yeah, I know.
When we open the borders again.
I don't know. Elon's response to that one, it just indicates that this was already in the works. He's just confirming, coming soon. So, all right.
I like the next one, though.
Yes, our friend Kim Paquette hopped on. Oh, son of a gun. I just lost the tweet. Sorry, I got to bring it back here. Let me just bring it up. So, okay. So, yes, our friend Kim had asked Elon, can we get an option to delete all Sentry footage at once? They tend to pile up and corrupt the card. Elon said, yes. Now, I know some people have been saying, well, you can just format it from the screen. The thing is that you lose everything. There's a time when you want to select all of your footage, so you, like select all and just hit go without deleting your saved clips or maybe your Sentry Mode or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I've said this many times before. The addition of Sentry Mode and the dash cam is very much still in its infancy, right? These are features they've been building on and adding new features as they go. They're not done yet. And the fact that, and we'll talk about something else here in a second that kind of ties in with this. I think Sentry Mode is probably, in my opinion, one of the best software features they've ever added to the car. And I think Tesla is really taking that to heart, and they think that it's a key feature to the cars now. And I don't see them stopping working on development of that and improving on it. So,
is it just me, or am I seeing way less incidences of people like breaking in or vandalizing the cars?
That's
it's like,
true.
are the crooks starting to get wise? I mean, is it really starting to have an effect? I can only hope so. That'd be a fantastic, if it's a real proof of concept, right? If like people are like, oh no, you can't mess with those cars, man, they're going to get you.
yeah, I think it's probably a combination of both. It's true because when they had those really bad rashes of break-ins in California,
Yeah.
it was all over the news. It was all over Twitter, and
They were arresting people like crazy.
yeah, and then they came out with the Sentry Mode, and it's just been slowly dying away. Like, I don't remember the last time I've actually heard of one of these
After we
break-ins.
got Sentry Mode, I'd say for a year solid, you saw every conceivable type
Yeah.
of thing happening to the cars, and it was recorded. But one by one, people were getting caught. A lot of them made television news stations.
Oh, I'm
And,
sure it's had an effect on people that are, thinking about it and, realizing that, oh, yeah, don't mess. I mean, word of mouth spreads, right? Well, you take a few people that get caught with this, they're going to tell all their friends and family, yeah, man, I got put in a slammer, or I was on national TV for breaking into a car. Yeah, don't mess with these Teslas.
I mean, I have no other explanation as to why they vanished. Either that, or it's because everybody's staying home because of COVID, and like nobody touches Teslas anymore. I mean, what else could you come up with?
It's because Miami Sound Machine, Gloria Stefan, they came out with a new hit single, Sentry Mode's Gonna Get You. So I'm not
we
sure
have a show title.
I'm not sure if it hit the Billboard 100. Might not have been the Billboard 1000, but that may be part of the reason why.
She has to cut that now. You gotta get it.
I would imagine there are people listening to this in their cars or on their favorite listening devices, or they're watching YouTube and they're just cringing at the awfulness of that joke. And I will tell you, it doesn't matter, because if it makes my cohorts love the show title, I'm all for it.
Yes.
Can always count on.
I'm going to be singing that the rest of the night now.
Sentry Mode's gonna get you.
Hey, don't be singing anything. We don't want any copyright strikes on YouTube.
Damn. That's right.
Oh, you never know what they're always dreaming up with those.
We're not even close to being in tune enough for that to have been considered a true ripoff of it, right?
Oh my gosh. Oh, we have way too much fun. All right, let's talk about Model Y. Model Y has been selling like crazy. It's been doing really well. Looks like the quality is finally improving. Elon took to Twitter because someone had asked him again. Well, listen, our friend John at Tesla owner Silicon Valley, any updates on the Model Y 7-seater? Elon responded, starting production on 7-seater next month. Initial deliveries in early December. Woohoo! So, for those of you who want the third row seat in the Model Y at the cost of $3,000 US, forward-facing seats. Hello. They will not be rear-facing. Come on now. I don't know. We're still having this chat on Twitter with everyone.
Here's
Anyways,
a good question. Do we think the leg room will be about the same or smaller than what's in the Model X 7-seater?
ooh, that's a really tough question. I would
Because
say
Model X is already pretty tight. Now, if
it
you're
is
going on
really
a
tight.
if you're going on to dinner or something, a relatively reasonable in-town commute, it's tolerable. If you're going on a trip, that's going to be some serious problem.
Yeah, no, I've been saying this for some time. I mean, having owned a Model X and sat in that rear seat, yeah, you can put two adults in the Model X in the very back, but not for long distances because it's not
Right.
comfortable. Your knees are like under your neck. Model Y, if you look at the reveal video when they came up on stage, two very short women came out of the back of that
Right.
car. Yeah, there's not a lot of room back there. And for those of you who are questioning, like, how much headroom and how are you going to get in and out, they're going to put the second row seats on sliders, just like the Model S. Model X, push the button, the seats are going to slide forward. That's how you're going to get in. Don't assume that the Model Y, because the second row bench seat doesn't move right now, that you're going to have to crawl in through the back of the car. It's not the way things work. It's exactly like a Model X. That's the problem. I think with the Model Y, people that are looking at the third row seat and they don't understand how things are going to work is because they haven't been exposed to a Model X. How do they do it in the Model X? 7-seat and the 5-seat configuration with the bench seat. That's how they do it. They put it on sliders. So,
But I mean,
anyways.
but even then, the Falcon Wing doors give you a lot of room to get in
Nah,
and out
that's
of the car without.
Nah, that's irrespective. I don't know. The Falcon Wing doors, as far as I'm concerned, is yeah, okay, they're fine. Take it or leave it, as far as I'm concerned. But it helps mostly with the second row, not the third row.
No, I agree. I just know that when you move the second row forward along the track, it still gives you ample room to get in that row without having to really sort of, contort your body a certain way. It's going to be different when you have now a regular passenger door, where the entry is still smaller. That if you're say a 6'4" adult, you're probably going to want to sit in the second row or the front row. But if you're, say a petite person, 5'4", then maybe that's just an easier seat for you to get into. But I'd be interested to see once I get hands on a 7-seater, just for me at 5'9", how easy it is to get into that third row.
Yeah, you'll be bending over.
No, but imagine.
I'm guessing you're going to be at the limit of anybody who's going to want to sit back there. I think it's really engineered for kids.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, Tesla's been pretty silent on the whole matter. It's just like they're not really explaining themselves. Like, okay, they really didn't say, who it's for. But having been in the Model Y, I've sat in the car lots of times, looked in the back seat. It was at the reveal event. Looked at the rear seats, and I'm like, yeah, that's for kids, really small people. You're not going to put a 6'4" guy back there. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. You wouldn't want to put one in a Model X, anyways, in the third row that's 6'4", right? So, anyways. Yeah. So anyways, people looking for a Model Y with the third row, there's your answer. Sometime in December is when we will see them on the roads. All right, let's talk about Model 3. Model 3 is finally getting a refresh. Now, Elon has been saying many, many times before, well, we don't do refreshes. Not in the traditional sense, but, because they always do running changes on the cars. Model 3 has seen lots of changes, but so far they've been relatively minor. But I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say this change is significant because it's multi-tiered. So first of all, I'm going to bring up some pictures here. Some of these pictures are courtesy of our friend Holmar's blog on Twitter. So the first thing is the most obvious thing from the outside of the car is that, and we've said this many times before, Chrome is gone on Teslas. As soon as Tesla gets around to doing a refresh on the rest of the product line, Chrome is gone. They set the stone with the first new next generation Roadster. Doesn't have any chrome on it. Model Y doesn't have any chrome on it. When I say chrome, I'm talking about the bright work around the windows and the door handles. It's gone. It's black trim now. This is the trend the Germans are doing. So this is what Tesla did on the Model Y. So Model 3, black trim all the way around. And again, I'll say it again, when they get around to updating the Model S, you can expect the chrome trim to go away as well. The other obvious choice is on the inside of the car. They got a new center console. So apparently the center console, well, first of all, they got rid of the gloss black. Yay. No more fingerprints, which is lovely. Unfortunately for all the companies out there selling fingerprint and vinyl kits and stuff are going to have a little tougher go at this. But anyways, doesn't mean that they can't still release kits to customize the car. But anyways,
Prediction: there's going to be super glossy versions coming out now too.
True enough. True enough. All right. So, yes, and yes, Vanta Black. Yes, then it would just disappear into the abyss. Right. The other change is the forward compartment, the one that everybody messes with the first time because it's magnetically held in place. You're always folding it and it won't stick and it won't stick. So many people have said the same thing. Oh, it's not staying. And then eventually the screen says, please close it gently. Anyways, apparently it's a roll cover now. So if you've been in a Model S or a Model X and they've got this roll cover thing, that's what it's similar to, same arrangement. The cup holders have been moved forward a little bit, and the charging compartment for the phones, it no longer has a cover. It's fixed in place. I don't know if it opens or how you're going to get in there for your USB ports and so on and so forth. I have a feeling it's based in that first compartment. There is one other tidbit that I've been told. I'm going to get rid of this picture here so we can see our faces. Tesla has moved either one USB port or they've added a USB port in the glove box. This in concert with the new pin to open the glove box means that you'll be able to hide your Sentry Mode and your dash cam USB key or storage device in the glove box. So it's out of the center console, so you don't have to worry about break-ins anymore. So that's why I was saying a little bit earlier that Tesla really values this dash cam thing. This is how far they're taking it now. So they're actually being able to hide a hidden USB port in the glove box with a pin so that nobody can open it and steal your key and your footage. So, yeah, pretty cool that ways. Let's see here. Obviously, I don't have any pictures, unfortunately, but new sport wheels. Ian, you can talk about this a little bit. I don't like them.
Oh, boy, the controversy over this. It's just pretty, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You've seen them. Talk about them.
I have. Well, essentially what they did with the 19-inch sport wheel is they gave it the same treatment as the Model S Slipstream. If you go back a couple of years, at one point they updated the base 19-inch wheel on the Model S to something very similar, where they flattened the spokes and they gave it this very wide, flat, vertical lip. And this is all done in the name of aerodynamics. It dramatically reduces air drag. You know, based on the studies that we've reviewed and did ourselves, there's a lot of advantages in doing what they did with the Slipstream wheel on the S. And this is basically, they took that exact same plan and applied it to the 19-inch sport wheel. And the result is what you see. I personally don't mind it. I think I'm still in the camp of liking the original, but I don't mind what the new one does. Maybe that's just the aero geek in me thinking, "Ooh, this probably works a lot better." But I don't find it that bad. The only problem is when you put that big 1-inch solid lip around it, it tends to make the wheel smaller. Like everybody was convinced they were looking at an 18, and I understand why, because it does reduce, your perceived diameter of what the wheel looks like. But
yeah, I've got a picture of it. Keep talking here. I'm going to bring it up here for people to be able to see it.
The other thing I want to emphasize is this is 100% a cast aluminum alloy wheel. This is no way, shape, or form a cover. There was a lot of theorizing going around that's a cover. I understand why, because when the Slipstream came out, I thought the Slipstream was a cover. The way it has this gigantic rectangular cutout with a void behind it for the valve makes it look like it's a snap-on cover. It is not. I've looked at the Slipstream.
That's true. I remember that.
Yeah, and this is the exact same type of construction. So that's for sure, 100%.
Right. So I've got a picture up here on the screen for those of you who have not seen it. So you can actually see the ends of the spokes as they go in. They blend in with the edge of the wheel more than the previous ones. And it just gives it it's definitely a different look. It's an acquired taste. I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand the aerodynamics portion and why they did this. But I don't know. To me, it makes the outer look chunkier and look more like and the way that it, as you said, the way that it's designed makes it look more like a wheel, like a hubcap type of thing. But I don't know.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't offer it in a darker color as an option. Maybe that'll be coming. That'll happen.
Yeah, that's
that'll hide a lot of that effect. That'll
hide those crimes. I predict lots of vinyl wrap kits for these things to make them look a little better. Right. So
I'm also of the opinion. I don't know why I have this gut feeling. I have no evidence to back this up whatsoever. I am almost certain that the piano black center console in my car will prove to be the better quality product than the new one they're putting in. There are going to be people that feel like the door might be too cheesy, too flimsy, too cheap. I mean, already and then a lot of people liked having the door over the charging pad, because if you wanted to leave a device there, you could cover it and people would be none the wiser. If the new console is always open, then you can't do that. So there's certain takeaways that you get from this that makes you go, that is a bit different. Now, how many folks leave stuff on their charging pads? That left to be seen. But also, you think about, if the cup holders are more forward, does that mean the compartment on the back is now larger and the one in the front is smaller? So there's a lot of different things that, accessories now from third-party companies. How will those work with the new charge ports? Can they still fit in there? So there's a lot that we don't yet know. But I mean, Apple will give out the schematics on their products, and then we'll have new cases for the iPhone 12 before the phone even hits the market, right? Like, we know when this podcast goes out, it's basically pre-order day. But it does make me wonder how many different customers will look at this new center console and go, man, it looks cheap, it feels cheap, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm hopeful I'm wrong. I just have a feeling that people are going to be like, I kind of miss the original one.
FineLab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled F-E-Y-N-L-A-B, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla. We were meant for each other. Right, so the other thing that has been almost confirmed, power lift trunk. Now, a lot of these leaks, you have to remember, came out of the filing that was done for the Model 3 in China, in Shanghai. So, we said this before, is that whatever happens there will eventually happen in North America. Mm-hmm. A lot of these changes, especially for the pictures that have been leaked, the VIN number associated with at least one of the first cars spotted was destined for Europe. This kind of ties in with fourth quarter production always being fronted for European cars at the start, because they take the longest to shove off across the ocean and stuff. So North American cars, I haven't spotted any VINs yet. I would suspect we will see them later next month into December for deliveries on those cars. So that's when we'll know for sure. Anyway, so the scuttlebutt going around is that definitely has a power lift trunk. This has been an often requested feature. A lot of people, there's aftermarket kits. I have one on my car. It's nice to have. A lot of people have been asking for that, so it looks like that's going to happen. Apparently some slightly updated headlights and taillights, a double layer glass, which is supposed to help with noise reduction in the car. Very welcome. I actually had that on my Lincoln. I saw a picture of the double layer glass on the Model, or someone posted, I think it was on the forum. And I always thought with my Lincoln, because if you looked at the edge of the glass on the driver's side or the passenger side, it had this little divot in the middle of the glass, and I always wondered what was that all about. Well, apparently that's what double layer glass is. So anyways, that's supposed to happen. The aforementioned USB key in the glove box, and apparently the heat pump is a real thing now. That was one of the changes that they had done previous for cars started building in, I think it was August, where they changed the front tub. They made it a little bit shorter in the front, or losing a little bit of space just to make up a little room, and we were always like, why would they do that? The heat pump uses a little more room on the Model Y. If you look at the front trunk of the Model Y, it's quite deep because of the fact, well, when I say deep, I'm talking between the firewall and where it actually ends to make up for room in there. So, yeah, apparently the heat pump is a real thing. It's going to happen. So, and no, you're not going to be able to get a retrofit. I know that people are like, can I get a retrofit? No, it's not going to happen.
Didn't you ask, Trev?
No, I was asking about something else.
Oh, okay.
Heated charge ports. Heated charge ports, the other thing that this car gets.
Oh, heated charge port. Yes, sorry.
Oh, speaking of which, I think the guys at Whole Mars had posted some pictures. Apparently, the wiring has changed between the port and where it goes into the penthouse. It's very much like the Model Y. It's a solid conduit. So there is some definite changes on this car. So cosmetically, you don't see a lot of changes, and that's where Elon says, well, we don't do refreshes and all that cosmetically, but there's a lot of stuff under the hood in this car that's changed. So in my mind, definitely a refresh that's happening on this thing. So, and it won't be the last. They're going to keep improving these cars. So all welcome things. If you want these changes, sorry folks, you're going to have to sell your car and upgrade. That's just the way that's the way these things work. Oh, well, a lot of people still have the rear wheel drive long range Model 3, and they love that thing.
Heck yeah,
unicorn.
man. Let's go.
Most efficient
It's-
Model 3.
Exactly. You cannot sell that car. It's a unicorn.
Yeah, it's a great car.
Especially mine when I have done no mods to it.
It's
Come
like the
on,
last
give it the
one
program.
on Earth that's completely stock.
I have I'm sorry, I have a cup holder insert. I can remove that in like a second. So
All right, let's bring up the podcast questions here and get into that. Well, that brings us pretty much to the end of the Tesla news. So we thought we'd spend a little time here and answer some viewer or listener questions. A lot of you had sent this in via Twitter. Usually on Thursdays when we record the show. Sometimes we do it on Wednesdays. But anyways, watch my Twitter feed, subscribe, go and follow me, Tesla Owners Online, and we will post a Google spreadsheet. A Google form where you can fill in to submit your questions for us to answer on the show. We got some really good ones this week. We've got, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 or 9 questions we'll get through. So let's just jump in here and get in. The first one first question is from Frank. He says, how long should it take for a legacy automaker to design and build their first production electric vehicle? How long do you think Tesla has been working on its $25,000 entry? That's a really good question. Ian, you're in the auto business. I've been following it a long time. I think on average, from a clean sheet design for most auto manufacturers, it's anywhere from 5 to 6 years.
That's about right. I mean, we know Tesla does things a little faster, so who knows? Maybe they could have cranked it down to 3, 4, but
I have been told through unofficial channels that Tesla went from drawings of the Model 3 to limited production in about 2.5 years.
there you go.
Very, very quickly. And that's just because they just do enough to get it into production, and then they fix things as they go.
well, let us not forget the reason why Tesla can do that is because you're essentially building it from the ground up, knowing you're just going to have a battery pack. So it'd be one thing for a legacy automaker who's trying to go from building what they've always been building. Like imagine we flip the script where Tesla has always built an electric car, but now they're trying to build an ICE.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different shift in mindset in terms of what you've always known to do.
Yeah.
So there are certainly challenges that these other manufacturers have encountered that we've largely discussed in the show about trying to get battery packs, trying to figure out body designs. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that they have to set up. The charging infrastructure is another one. Even if they could, say, conceivably in 4 years, come out with a prototype, which they do all the time, let's be honest, it's a whole different thing to have a concept car versus actually producing, changing your factory so you have the lines ready to go, all the components there. So it would not surprise me. I mean, the challenges are well known, but it wouldn't surprise me if the 6-year mark for most of these manufacturers is out the window for EVs because they can't seem to get something that's going to stick.
It's almost like it's 180 degrees from Tesla. Like, I mean, if you talk to the Sandy Munros, Tesla seems to have problems with the dinosaur stuff, which is making the bodies. Drivetrains, electronics, solid. Traditional automakers, when it comes to their EVs, they're really great at the bodies. But if you look at the amount of recalls that have been happening and fires over the last few weeks, with Ford and Hyundai and Mercedes and all the other guys are making EVs, and they're having fires all left, right, and center. They seem to be struggling with with the drivetrain aspect of these cars, specifically the batteries. So it's almost like 180 degrees.
I'm telling you, they should do the way the traditional OEMs have been going for a long time now, and that is consolidate. Like we're in there all the time, because I work with 6 different OEMs, and when we take the platforms apart and we start looking at stuff and talking to the engineers, it's like, wait a minute, you bought this part from where? Like my craziest moment in recent times was when we took apart was the newest little Infinity, the 30 series one, and lo and behold, it's an entire Mercedes chassis under there. I was like, what? You're not even affiliated with it. They just bought the entire Mercedes chassis.
Well, that happens.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So why can't they do this with Tesla? To me, you're completely insane at this point if you don't license the technology. Now, I understand there's been lots of arguments that Tesla's production constrained. They don't have the time or the resources. No. Duplicate what they're doing. Basically, get the licensing to build all of those exact components, Order them from the same suppliers if you have to, get them to ramp up on their end. But why reinvent what is the absolute cutting, bleeding edge EV drivetrain and chassis when you don't have to, and then put your own bespoke touches on it? And it wins in a number of regards because you can create the style and appeal of the vehicle you want. You get to put a different brand name on it because, lo and behold, I know we're all giant Tesla fanboys. We love it. And it's completely incomprehensible to us that anybody wouldn't want to buy Tesla, but there's people out there that don't necessarily want to buy a Tesla. Get over it. They want to have a Ford label. They want to have a Chevy, whatever, BMW, whatever you're attached to, especially in North America, we're so brand loyal. It's such an important thing. Just buy the platform and then put your own secret sauce on it.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this mind blow? It may never happen, but here's what I think people should start considering.
What?
If you have an Acura, who makes it?
Well, Honda.
Right. If you have an Infiniti, who makes it?
Nissan.
Right. So we know that there are Lexus, right, made by Toyota. So we know there are luxury brands,
yes,
but they're really made by legacy automakers that we've all come to know for, economy cars. I would say that, and if I was Trevor mentioned if he was a betting man. If I was a betting man, I believe in the next 10 to 15 years, some legacy automaker well, I'm not saying they would sell to Tesla, but they would partner with Tesla at worst, so that Tesla is able to utilize their facilities to have basically additional production lines. A lot of Tesla parts go into making the electric vehicle, and those companies can still smack their name on the badging for it, but it's largely a Tesla DNA car. But right. it has the the little skins and other things that make it say a General Motors car or Ford or something like that. Like we know there's been partnerships with Rivian and Ford that was well publicized. Lucid may eventually get into that at some point too. But but everyone sees what Tesla is doing. Rather than keep fighting them to compete with them, merge with them. Find a way to unite with them, partner with them, utilize their experience to help them get off the ground, especially if there's a demand from the owners of those legacy automakers saying, no, we want electric car, but we'd rather buy your electric car. Well, then great. Then let's work together because Tesla is by and large an American company. So if you're gung-ho about buying American cars, hello, there's an opportunity waiting for someone to some CEO to go, we'd be stupid not to. We're never going to beat them. We might as well join them.
Magna.
Yeah. Well, no. Look, the industry is rife with these things. Ford with Mazda. You have now Mitsubishi, Nissan, Renault. Everybody now is in bed together. But because they're all traditional ICE automakers, there doesn't seem to be nearly as much stigma. The fact that Tesla is this upstart that came out of nowhere, they're a Silicon Valley company. The only thing I can see, other than the fact that it's not invented here syndrome, like there's this just tremendous sense of pride that they just can't get past. I think the only other thing that bothers them is, for the most part, Tesla is like one of the most closed automotive ecosystems I've ever seen in my entire life. The only other company I can think of with consumer products that's anywhere near as bad is Apple.
Mm-hmm.
They are tight. You can't touch anything they do. It's a closed system. And, Elon has often said, we partner people for the supercharger network, we partner people to supply parts, whatever, but you've got to take it the way it is. So I think there might be a fear that there's that tremendous control freak aspect to them that, would sort of put them off. That's the only valid concern I could see about partnering with them. But like I said, it doesn't even have to be a full-blown partnership in the sense that there's a financial exchange in the value of the companies or anything of that nature. Just buy the skateboard, buy the drivetrain, buy what you need, and then set it up your way and go.
They're already willing to consider letting these automakers use the supercharging network if they wanted to do it. So there's already been those olive branches of partnerships that Elon's tossed out in the past. So I'm with you. Like there are opportunities right there waiting for someone to go, hey Elon, can we have a conversation? Why not?
Well, it'll be interesting to see. They got pretty friendly with Volkswagen there for a little bit, but oddly enough, Volkswagen, I think right now is the best positioned to become the number 2 spot, worldwide in EVs. They've got a huge amount of momentum, and I think going it alone, ultimately, if they can commit, I know there's a huge amount of internal strife they got to get past. There's a lot of warring factions that are not at all on board with the EV aspect of it. But if they get past that, if they can survive it, and go full EV, I think they're gonna have a good run. It's all the other guys that I really worry about.
Yeah.
Oh, and to answer Frank's other question, I think they've been working on this $25,000 model blank probably for a while. I think maybe even like after Model 3 got released, thinking Euro market, smaller car, less expensive. I don't think it's a recent revelation. I think they announced it now during Battery Day, but I think it's been in talks probably for well over a year.
Well, at least since when they talked about it when they did the official opening at the Shanghai factory, because that's when Elon first mentioned that they were going to set up a design studio in China. So yeah, it's been in the works for at least a few months.
You can pinpoint the date actually, because when Model 3 came out, I'm trying to think of the last time Elon said it, but it was around the time, was it Autonomy Day? I'm trying to think of the timeline to put all the dates together. But I know, during the Autonomy Day discussion, that was one of the things that came up. And his point was, well, now with autonomous vehicles, do we really see the need to create a $25,000 vehicle when you'll be able to just call up, an autonomous Tesla and go wherever you want? I mean, for the average consumer, that's probably a better value proposition. But something between that point and the discussion at Shanghai and the design studio for a smaller vehicle.
It's the new battery. The new battery allows for lower priced cars.
Yeah, so there's two things I think that happen sort of concurrently. There's the fact that the new battery technology allows a $25,000 car to be competitive and be compelling. And the other thing is, let's be honest, as amazing as this new FSD system is going to be, I think they're still realizing they have a long way to go to get past the regulatory hurdles in so many countries. So in the interim, there's demand, and why not go out and attack it, at the smaller end of the spectrum.
Yeah. Well, I think we should move on. We got a lot of questions here, so we got to power through some of them. Next question comes from Bad Monkey on Twitter. He says, since the original Cybertruck likely won't be sold outside North America, would the tight Wolverine Cybertruck mentioned on Battery Day be the only option for international markets? How might the specs differ from the original? Thank you for the question. Anything we talk about here is just pure speculation because we don't have any idea of what's going on. European roads are a little smaller. Cybertruck's a big car. I don't know how well North American trucks do over in Europe, if anything at all. I would say, non-existent. Yeah, they're non-existent. I think obviously it would have to be a smaller truck of some form, like a what's the smaller? Maybe the old Chevy S10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you're seeing a very small revival of that. Ford brought back their Ranger. The funny thing is, the Ranger is today kind of at almost what the full-size pickup was, 20 years ago. It's not that much smaller,
Yeah,
big trucks rule.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're right, Trev. It would be something in that size range. Yeah,
as far as a feature set was concerned, provided that the Cybertruck is I mean, they can fit most of the same features in it, and space is not that much of a limitation. I wouldn't suspect it would be too far off. I mean, so you have to give some stuff away, like the size of the bed in the back and that type of thing. But hopefully they don't scrimp on too many features, unless it's a price point they're trying to reach. I don't know. But interesting to see what happens. I mean, Cybertruck North America first, because that's where the money is. So. All right, moving on here. The next question comes from Mac. He says, "Are you expecting price increases along with the upcoming Model 3 updates?"
I am.
Yeah, it could go either way.
It could be small. I mean, it could go up $200, but that by and large makes it a price increase. Because it could be that some of the stuff they're replacing might be lower in cost to them, but then do the new wheels cost more? Like, are you offsetting some numbers in your changes? I think the heat pump will add value. That's not something they're just gonna throw in for free. So I don't think we're talking a $2,000-$3,000 price change. I don't think it'll be that substantial. But if it's under $1,000, I wouldn't find that surprising.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But it could go either way. I don't expect them to drop the price at this point.
Right.
But at least keep it the same. But I would see them probably increasing it. I don't know. Yeah, $1,000 or something like that. It's not the end of the world. I mean, there's lots of value proposition. In certain aspects, the heat pump, number one, the power lift trunk, those two things, you put it in there, there's some valuable proposition as far as that's concerned. Let's see here. Next question comes from Todd. Am I in the right order here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Todd. Yes. Do you think the Berlin built Model Y will have the new wiring harnesses, 300 meters or less? That's a really good question. We do know that it's going to have the new front and rear casting, as well as the new structural battery pack. Again, we're looking at Berlin at this point. It's looking like it's going to be late summer, early fall, I think, start of early production on that car. I don't know. It could go either way. I know it's a patent that they had done. I would suspect if they are going to do it, that would be the time to do it. They're doing the structural battery pack, the new cells at the factory. Elon did say on Twitter that is where they were going to start the pilot production for this. And if it works out, then they would bring it to Fremont. Obviously, Austin is going to get all this new tech and stuff. So, yeah, I would suspect if they're going to do this wiring harness that they made a lot of noise about, that would be the place to start.
I don't think so. I'm thinking it would require a rework a lot of the components, and they're going to want to keep component commonality, I'm guessing, worldwide as much as they can. And changing the casting doesn't affect that. I mean, in so much that, those are relatively large parts that can be unique to the European model. But when you think about how all those components interconnect, like the connectors would all be different, right? If it's really that flat wiring system. So I can't see it. It would require so many changes to so many aspects of the vehicle. Well, I was kind of thinking they would launch it on the Cybertruck.
Well, yeah, but everything's changing now. Now the fact that the Model Y is going to get the first car to get the structural battery pack. Well, probably around the same time as the car. I mean, if you look at the Model 3, everything's built into the penthouse, right? Mm-hmm. On the top of the battery pack. So if you're going to make a new battery pack and you're going to have to change electronics and build a new penthouse and stuff, there's the time to do that. I mean, the voltage changes, the inverters, all that stuff. That's where it's all at.
But you still have all that legacy wiring that goes to the mirrors, into the fans and the wipers, that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of thing in the back of my mind. If you're going to chop like 3/4 of the length of the wiring out, you're doing something very radical to all that. I could be wrong. Maybe at the end of the day, you could make this super compact harness that has the same connectors and it doesn't change your components at all. Yep. Who knows?
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, but I still think that if they can pull it off, that would be the time to do it. All right, next question comes from Thomas. It says, after watching your video about changing brake pads, I noticed the Model 3 performance discs have blue discoloration after a hard brake at the Autobahn. Is this normal, or should I go to a service center to check my brakes? Ian, you want to take that one?
There can be two things causing that. One of them is if you got the brakes really, 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 really hot, which we did. As you saw in the video, I managed to get the front rotors up to about 1,000 degrees, and they're clean as a whistle. They've never looked as nice, as a matter of fact. They're so clean and shiny now. It's really
even after all the honing now? Maybe I should do that.
You should get some of these pads, and they scrape absolutely everything off. Thank you, Alice.
I don't know, $900 for pads. Holy crap.
Yeah. So you can have that. If you get rotors to an extraordinarily high temperature, they will turn blue, like a lot of different metals will. Depends on the exact metal composition of your rotors. But what can also happen is you get like a very high amount of pad transfer. Like you'll actually get some of the friction material from the pad transferring onto the rotor in a very short period of time. And that in itself can discolor and recreate these blue patches. If you were able to send us an image, if you want to tweet one at me or just post one up on the forum somewhere where you can see what your rotors look like, I'd have a much better idea. If that's what it is, then I really wouldn't worry about it. Even if your rotor itself turned blue for a short period of time, it shouldn't be a big concern. I mean, with normal driving, it should go away. Of course, with our cars, being that they don't use the brakes very much, it could stay like that a long time because you're regenning all the time. So I would actually encourage you to go out and make some moderately quick stops, not like 200 to 0 Autobahn stop, but see what happens after a few fairly firm stops if it cleans up the rotors. But as long as there's no cracking signs, there's probably nothing really wrong with them. Cracking is where you really get into trouble with if the rotors get seriously overheated. So if there's no warping, vibration, or cracking, I think you're probably fine.
Okay, well there you go. Thanks for sending that in. Next question comes from Carlo. Ian, how much of your car fell apart on the track run?
I love the honesty of that question. Well, I did, we kind of rushed through we covered so much ground in that video. So we were like very fast edit on all the scenes, and all you saw was me being black flagged. And then we're just holding a chunk of the bottom of the car. So people must be, holy crap, what did you do to it? So that was really the only casualty that day was the shield. The shield had been coming loose for some time. Like my shield has been slowly disintegrating. I have an early, obviously with an early generation 2018 car, I've got the super wimpy, felt like material shield, which I don't know what they were thinking when they engineered that. But anyway, mine was on its last legs, and just a few beats around the track were enough to dislodge it, I guess, all the airflow. So we tore the remnants of it off, and that was it. But honestly, the car survived amazingly well. I've seen no ill effects whatsoever. It drives beautifully. There's no new noises. Everything is tight. It could go another month on the track. I don't think you'd notice anything with it. It's,
Have you ordered a new underbody pan thing?
I'm looking into that. You know what's interesting is a few people have told me they've seen like a really high quality hard plastic shell one. For the life of me, I can't figure out who makes this thing. Some of the technicians at Tesla were telling me about. It's like, yeah, we've seen some cars come in with what appears to be an aftermarket one, which is not, because there's a second grade, right? If you go in for Tesla service right now and you get the new one, it's upgraded, but it's still got this sort of half felt, half composite feel to it. So if anybody out there knows of a true aftermarket unit, hit us up in the comments. Let me know. Hit us up on Twitter, whatever. I'd love to hear from you. If not, if none exists, there's a huge aftermarket opportunity here, and I'm kind of amazed that no one's gone after it. With all the stuff we see for these cars.
Okay, well there you go. Next question comes from Mike. He says, "Does Tesla offer a service diagnostic check for the battery pack and vehicle systems?" Yes, they do. You can call your Tesla. I mean, if you're having concerns about your battery pack degradation, whatever the case may be, you can make a service appointment with a Tesla. You'll have to take it in because they will do that. Yeah, they do that. However, a lot of the diagnostics is actually built into the car. It's in the firmware. It's not accessible to the average person. Service technicians can access that. But yeah, they can do diagnostics. They can actually do some of that stuff, basic things, I think, remotely as well.
They can.
So.
I've had not once but twice a full remote scan of my battery. One of the times was during the lightning run, because I had some of the concerns, when we started to have problems with the BMS.
Yeah.
And my Mobile Ranger guy was able to access the car, and he was down to like the individual little pack level.
That's true. Yeah. If you've ever seen, and I had access to the service menu on my Model X, and there is a page they can bring up, and you can see all of the voltages on the individual cell blocks themselves, up, minus and pluses. It's very detailed. These cars are so highly instrumented, and they're logged, everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's applications that Tesla has internally that if someone logs in as a Tesla employee, they can just based on your VIN, they'll ping the car, and the car gives back this long report of all kinds of data, like just fields and fields and fields of data. And if you know how to read it, you'll see different things that are like red flags of like that would be a concern. So yeah, you'll be surprised how much they can get without even having to send the tech out. They can just ping the car and get the report and go from there.
Well, hope that helps you out, Mike, but the answer is yes. All right, next question comes from Gary. Gary asks, I pre-ordered a Model Y last year, but my Bolt lease isn't up until February 2021. What are the odds I get a rear unibody model? Well, they're all unibody now. Unless he's talking about the rear casting being in one piece as opposed to two.
I think that's exactly what he means.
Okay. I don't know what the current situation is in Fremont with that new casting machine making the single piece rear, but at the end of the day, it makes no difference whether you get the two-piece one or the one piece. It's not going to be any different. They just wanted to, at the time when they designed the casting, they didn't have this new machine to do it all in one piece, and that's all they've been doing at this point. They've just been bonding them together.
Right.
But structurally, I don't think it's going to make any difference really at the end of the day. So if you want a Model Y, don't worry about it. Just order it, whether it has it or not. You're never going to see the difference anyways. So I wouldn't worry about that. All right, next question comes from David. He asks, will Tesla ever have an Apple Watch native app? I know a lot of people have been asking about that. That's a good question. I know a lot of people have been asking Elon on Twitter for a long time to make some kind of companion for the Tesla app. I don't think it's out of the realm that they would do it. However, there are many other apps, third-party apps you can get, like Tesla Stats, for example, a Stats app, for example. That's the one that I use. It has a watch app, and you can do a variety of different things. I think using NFC to be able to tap your car for the times when you don't want to bust out your card, that would be quite handy. The Bluetooth can be a little flaky at times. I've been at my car many times before, and it's like, oh, really? Do I have to open my app? So there are times when that would be handy. Like I said, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but if it's a value to you, get on Twitter, because it's the only way to get a hold of Elon Musk. Get on Twitter and ping him and ask him. See what happens. All right. Unfortunately, I don't have it set up here for the screen for you guys to see, but the last question comes from Chantel. It says, what should I look for in winter tire if I drive 5 kilometers in the city? Ian?
Well, not only does Chantal only drive 5 kilometers, that's a little over 3 miles for our American friends. in the city, but she's in the GTA or the Greater Toronto area, which doesn't get a whole lot of snow. So I would say, Chantel, you are one of the rarest of rare things a Canadian that could actually see get away with an all-season tire in winter. I never say those words.
No.
I can't believe I'm hearing myself saying I'm going to go flog myself afterwards. I apologize to all our listeners. But no, it's true. I mean, I wouldn't go with necessarily what's on the car. I mean, we don't know exactly which model that she has, but let's assume that it's a base Model 3 and it comes on the Michelin Primacies. I'm not a huge fan of those in the snow. They're, it's very much a range tire. It's got great qualities and a lot of, but it's like on snow, it's not really anywhere near my favorite. So that's probably not ideal. But having said that, you would be well served by one of the new generation of all-weather tires as opposed to an all-season. An all-weather tire is basically an all-season tire that has the mountain snowflake rating. So it actually does have credible snow and ice performance, but you can leave it on year-round. So, I mean, there's very good options out there. Nokian has a few of them. The Michelin Cross Climate. Eric, is that what you went with in the end, replacing yours?
Mm-hmm.
You did, eh? How do you like them so far?
Oh my God, they are amazing.
They're great, eh?
They're so much great. The MXM4s that I had, the Primacy MXM4, they were fine. Like I remember the rides being totally fine with them. I just know that they never really met their tread wear life, which again, Florida roads are notorious for degrading rubber a lot faster. But I find that the Cross Climate Plus, I'm getting a better ride for a touring tire, and they were less expensive per tire than the Primacy MXM4s.
How's the noise level?
Sorry, that's a good question. How do you find the noise there,
Eric? It's really not bad. I mean, mind you, I don't have double paned windows. I don't have sound deadeners on my vehicle. So again, my car is pretty much as factory can get. And, I really don't hear much road noise. And I've been both highway and city driving since I got the tires on a couple of months ago. But no, it's honestly, to me, the big thing is I don't feel the bumps in the road as much as before. And again, new tires tend to do that. But it honestly holds up well. I've driven so far in wet conditions. It's had really good traction, especially on tight corners and turns. I mean, just all the reviews I read about it, I've experienced the same thing. It's a phenomenal tire for my daily commutes. And again, the mileage ranges, but it's been handling every one of them nearly perfectly.
Well, good. Glad to hear that. I've been hearing lots of things from a lot of different people who've tried the tire, and they're big fans of it. I was just thinking for someone like Chantel, who's doing very limited winter driving in city conditions in a city like Toronto, that's a tire that would probably hold up well, and then you could just leave them on year round. Now, if you were so inclined to get two sets of tires, which of course I always do recommend because we are in Canada, and now that you're even in Toronto, you guys, Trev, you can say you guys get some serious minus 20, minus 25 weather now and again, and you actually get the odd blowout snowstorm. So I mean, now with climate change, nothing is a given anymore. I mean, hell, people in Texas are seeing 6 inches of snow, every so often. So at that point, there's a huge amount of winter tires that are possible. You'd be well served by any of the top brands. You don't have anything too difficult. The other thing too is, even though if you're only going 5 kilometers in the GTA, I imagine every once in a while you're going to want to venture out north or east or west or something. So for that purpose, I would highly recommend you go visit the Tesla Owners Online Winter Tire thread that we've got going. There's lots of great discussions on there. So not just for Chantel, but for anybody looking for suggestions on what works best in winter and Model 3. No matter what your scenario is, you're bound to find some stories on there that resonate. So Trev, maybe if you can, that one's not always easy to find on the forum. I have to say, when I go searching for it, I have to go pages in. So maybe Trev, if you
what I'll do is I'll find the thread and I'll pin it. So that
pin it. Pin it. Not only on the forum, but also if you could just throw it in the link at the end of the show. Sure. So for all of those people, if you're on YouTube, you can go at the end there and find it. But yeah, that's my favorite place to go because everybody's tried everything on our cars, and there's excellent feedback on what works best depending on where you are and what you're looking for.
We have a wonderful resource on the forum. People use it. Stay away from Facebook. You can't find anything because the moment it's gone and you'll never see it again. On the forum, you can search. Yes, it's free to search.
It is.
That's why we started it. That's why it's still going. So yeah, go check it out. Well, that's it for questions, guys. Any closing thoughts before we kick out of here?
I missed you guys.
2020 sucks. We lost Eddie Van Halen.
What a year. Good
No,
Lord.
I know. It's just been unbelievable this year.
By the way, when it comes to celebrities and things like that, that's every year.
I know.
Like every year we lose people and I'm like, oh my god, 20. I will say if there's one benefit to the chaos that's been this year, I guess this is my closing thoughts, is it has allowed some people, not everyone, but some people to really take into account the things that are valuable in their lives. Right?
Mhm.
We're realizing the things that we take for granted on a daily basis, seeing our friends and family, hugging people, just basic things that we now realize we took for granted, how meaningful those kinds of connections are. I remember when we started this pandemic, we had one time a video call amongst a few of us who were just kind of putzing around on a Saturday or a Sunday or something.
Yeah.
And just to have that kind of camaraderie that we hadn't had since the event back in February, really just kind of struck home that, yeah, like we've really, had to kind of reassess our lives and what we find valuable. So people have been able to take up like bike riding and, going on walks again. And, kids are putting their phones down to go outside and play. It's just, it's really nice that we're able to reconnect in different ways, despite being so disconnected. If that means anything.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this from the guy who makes a Gloria Stefan joke in the middle of the show. So take it for what it's
And
worth.
we thank you for that. We thank you for that.
Right.
All right. Well, if people want to follow you, Eric, where can they do that?
You guys can find me on Twitter now that Twitter is working. If you hear the show starting on October 16th, Twitter had a massive outage for like 2 hours, and people thought, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
Russian bots." Anyway, it's not Russian bots. Anyway, so you can follow me on Twitter. It's ECFix. It's ECFIX. And please, if you are listening to us in the United States, November 3rd is Election Day. I don't know if we're going to do a show between now and November 3rd, but please make a plan to vote. I don't care who you're voting for. I don't care what you're voting for. Or just make a plan to vote. Encourage others to go with you. Vote by mail. Do early voting. Vote on Election Day. Just please make sure you do not forget. Get your votes in by November 3rd. Please. This country needs your support. Democracy cannot thrive without you.
That's right. And if you don't vote, and you can, you have no right to complain about
Well, we have the
whatever
First
happens.
Amendment, but it doesn't mean it's going to help.
American, you always have a right to complain.
I was just hoping,
Right?
you know.
The
All right.
Constitution.
We created websites that people can complain about restaurants. Okay, like we have.
That's
This
true.
all we want to do is complain. It's funny. You probably like if you look at someone's comments on our YouTube videos. Generally they're positive, but I've seen like critics of restaurants, businesses, whatever, like 10 to 1, 8 to 1 negative to positive. Like people don't generally call you and say, "Hey, I wanted to tell you, I thought your tacos were fantastic today."
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's like terrible food, don't ever go there. The limes are rotten.
I would
the
never
salsa
go
tastes like
there.
crap. The water's got flies in it. Like, people want to complain about anything, anytime.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. All right, Ian, how about you? Any closing thoughts tonight?
I'm going to do something I never do, and I'm going to take a page straight out of Mr. Camacho's book, and I'm going to say something heartfelt and profound. And speaking of the November 3rd election, I never talk about politics publicly as far as I'm concerned. It's too dangerous a topic,
Mhm.
but I'm very passionate about everything to do with the U.S. It's military history, it's political history, it's general history, it's people. It's a country I dearly love, it's second to my own. And America, I am more worried about you right now than I ever have been in my entire lifetime. I really can't wait for the day where harmony comes back and you all sort of adhere to that code of United States of America. I want to see you get along. Whatever your political convictions, religious convictions, personal convictions, whatever it is, the thing you guys do best is get your act together, go out there and knock it down. And you've done that over the centuries, and I know you're capable of doing it again. And I just want you to all work as one cohesive force. Take that mix, that melting pot of amazing brains and drive and everything that you have, and get it all back together and start pointing in the same direction.
Yeah.
I want to see that happen, and I hope everything starts running smooth again, and you can do that. Whatever happens on Election Day, I hope everybody accepts what it is and you all get out there and do what you do best, because the rest of the world, we're all sitting back going, yeah, this is a country that should be leading the world in the way that it has traditionally, and I'd like it to see it come back to that in all its glory. So that's my personal wishes.
Well put, Ian. I can't add any more to that. All right, where can people follow you if they want to have a chat with you online?
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter. The handle is @IanPavelko. At the Tesla Owners Online forum, of course, you can find me there. The handle is Mad Hungarian. Direct messages are open in both locations, so feel free to ping me with any questions, anything I can help with. I'm always glad to. And if you're looking for something in the way of Tesla wear, which I'm not wearing today, I'm promoting PBS because it is the 50th anniversary of PBS. Support your local PBS station, speaking of America, one of my dearest American institutions. And but if you are looking for some Tesla wear, you can go to my online shop, www.teespring.com, and look up Mad Hungarian Evolve Wear, the shop, and you will find all of my little Tesla shirts.
And if you're watching on YouTube, it's in the description below my face.
Always. It's always in there. Yes.
True.
Well, I guess that leaves me. If you want to follow me, I'm very active on Twitter. You can just look up Tesla Owners Online. Don't forget to check out our forum at teslaownersonline.com. Always the best resources to talk about Tesla. Make sure you give some business to some of our sponsors out there. You know, COVID and stuff has hit some of these guys. So make sure you give them, if you're looking for accessories and stuff, get out there, give them some business. You know, skip the Amazon thing once in a while and give some businesses to some of these people. We are recording on a Thursday, so by the time some of you are going to be listening, it'll be Friday. So shout out to our friend Earl. Tomorrow is Front Puppy Friday. Get out there and vote. I don't know if there's still any prizes, but anyways, shout out to Earl, buddy. Love your work. Keep up the great work. Anyways, that's it for tonight, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, by the way, Tesla's financial earnings call is coming up, so we might do a show that week and talk about some of that stuff. Maybe try and get a guest on who knows more numbers than we do. But anyways, that's it for tonight. Thanks for listening and watching. It's been a long time. But anyways, thanks for sticking around. See you guys.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Vote, damn it.